Not here, he's gonna be late because he has an Eagle Scout meeting, so he'll be here around, 8:15.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here, everyone, please rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone, please be seated. Tonight is a special board meeting, so that means that most of the routine and non-routine matters that we address are not on the agenda. And in fact, because it's a special meeting, there is no review of the previous board's meetings minutes. That will be done at our next meeting. So the main thing right now is just to adopt the agenda, which is really largely the budget discussions and one holdover resolution. So do I have a motion?
I'll move it. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? The motion passed. So now we'll go into the budget discussions. The first one, I guess, Frederick, maybe you can present it. I don't see Jerry Owens here, would be for animal control. And in fact, Frederick will present, it looks like all but maybe two of the presentations this evening. Frederick, maybe you just quickly review with us any the highlights, right? Where there are any major changes, which I don't believe there really are.
All right, thank you.
What page are we on, Frederick?
Refer to the page on the line.
So this will be the A fund, the big one, and it should be page.
And you pull the microphone over, to see that.
He's got.
You got one on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good, very good.
So the animal control budget is on page 10, the general fund.
10? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Line, 3510.100 is where it begins, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, if we look at that first line, 3510.100, dog warden personal, the only change from adopted 2019 to the tentative is a 2% proposed increment in wages from 26,000 to 27,522. All the other items, the equipment, the contractual, are basically the same as 2019 adopted. So no surprises over there.
And we had last year gotten a new van in place, so there's no further major equipment, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions related to this? I have reviewed it with Jerry, and so it's
No
was
questions.
okay to me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jerry would have brought up any issues if he
Right.
had them, so I have no issues with this.
Anybody else? Okay. We'll move on to Leanne, the tax receivers budget proposal.
Perfect timing.
Yes, thank you.
So mine's very quick and to the point as well. On page 5, there's just two changes. The first one is to line 1330.200, and that is the amount of $1470 that's necessary for updating the computers. And the next line is 1330.100. I increased that to $36,400 provisionally based on the pending restructuring of the water and sewer department, and also the need to having to hire a new part-time tax clerk.
Right. Yeah, and I'm in agreement with Leanne, and I have reviewed that, and so I'm in full agreement with that proposal.
So other than that, that's it.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, thank you, Leanne. And when does, I think, just for information for the board, the school taxes are due at November 1st?
November 1st is the last day for the tax collection.
And then after that, we'll be able to focus on some of the other issues that we
Yes.
talked about, including the conservation payment,
Right.
issue of looking back at the water bills. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm saving all my questions for Jerry.
Yeah, so, Mr. Town Clerk, you're up.
He didn't even hear that.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, mine is rather...
Thank you, Leah.
Mine is rather simple as well, except I'm going to take the opportunity to explain some of the things that we've accomplished over the last 8 months, 10 months. All right, so basically I'll talk about the budget like everyone else has, the finances, but also I just want to point out some operational achievements or that I just identified. We did 8,380 transactions, pulled in $641,000.
Joe, what page?
This is not any page, it's just a summary of our operation.
But what page are your lines on?
It's page
It's
7.
on 7.
1400.
Yeah,
Yeah,
1400.
1410 starts.
1410. So these are the things I'm going to cover on operations, and so we'll talk about the budget. And there's your, I don't know if you can see it from there. So basically, there's not much change from last year. Of course, like everyone has those computers that they're adding, so you see that at the bottom, the town clerk equipment. And the rest is really determined by the number of local laws that are prepared. Right now, we're up to 6. If you see 1410, 414, we spent $7,283 to codify these laws, these 6 laws. Everything else is pretty much self-explanatory. The copier runs through us. Any questions on any of these items?
No,
No.
pretty
All right,
good.
so let me just take the opportunity, being that I really don't get to explain much up here. We prepared 8,380 transactions, monetary transactions for $641,000, and about $77 a transaction. All right? This year, we put on online dog renewals, which was one of our goals to do. Also, on January 1st, we'll be accepting credit cards, and the online dog renewals will also be with credit card. As far as records, one of the goals was to scan a lot of the records that have never been scanned, particularly a lot of the projects. They've all been scanned. The shredding, we took care of that, and also we created a lot of databases. Projects database, marriage, death databases. You can add that to our recycle database. Now, we also put a section on Recycle Center. I don't know if you want to talk about that now, but I don't know when we're going to talk about it. But these are just some issues that have been brought up because we're the front lines to the Recycle Center.
Right.
So I'll briefly go through that. These are the transactions that we took this year, the $641,000 of 8,000 handicapped dogs, just to give you an idea of the numbers of transactions we do. They're not heavy in money, but they're transactions.
Okay.
This is the online dog renewal. You just go on the town website, you click the button there to renew your license. This comes up, you put your tag number in, and then click search, and this is what comes up. The number of dogs, this particular person had 2 dogs, they were expired, and you put the data in, you click proceed to payment, and this is all done online. Any questions on that? Okay, so we move to the fact that we will accept credit cards, like I pointed out. Okay, records. Let's talk about records. It's been said that records, files are not records until they're filed with the town clerk. The town clerk's duty is to coordinate the town's records process. In other words, each department does their own records, has their own records. And when they file with us, it becomes a town clerk record. So departmental files are not records. You understand, Richard, why I'm putting this up there? It's been written that certain things were filed with the town clerk. They're not. If we're holding records for someone at the end of the year for a new supervisor, then that's just holding it for them. Barbara Gutza had done when she left. She left her records in the vault. When the next supervisor came in, we gave all the files back. But those were files that were not records. Records have to be filed with the town clerk. They get stamped, and you get a receipt. Okay? Every department takes care of their own records. Building, justice, assessor, tax, accounting, personnel. They keep and manage their own records. So I wanted to make that clear. All right, this is the new EMS record storage facility that we have over there that was set up. It's only one of many pictures. They want to bore you with a lot of pictures. This is the shredding day. Again, many more pictures, but this was just one picture.
But I don't know if you're getting into it, maybe I'm getting ahead of you, but I would note and like to, recognize and appreciation the significant effort that was undertaken by going over to Carnwath,
Right.
going through the records to see if we could find, records. And that, then they were carted over here. There's still files there, correct? But you
They've
brought
just-
about half of them over?
Most of them are over here, just residual files that
Right.
nobody knows what to do with.
But, primarily, there was some escrow records recently. Joe Ruggiero, I think, has a lot of documents still over there, correct? That were his records that he accumulated. But basically, the rest of it's been moved over here. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and this is the projects, if you go in our vault from A to Z, Adams through whatever Z is, in Z, have all been scanned, they're all in Laserfiche, and if you need to search them, a database has been created where you just put in a portion of the name, click OK, and it comes up, tells you what vault it's in, what location, and what box. And you can put any of them in there to find it. And again, everything's on Laserfiche as well, accessible through the town website. Okay, another database, the marriage database, goes back to 1882. You just click on town or village marriage, put in a portion of the name, and then the spouse, the wife comes up, and just the number where it's located in the vault. No other sensitive information. So it's not like, it's information that's in another source. So now you know where to get it rather than search through a lot of books in the back of the vault. Same thing with the death database, exact same thing. Click death search, and it tells you what book it's in and what number and what year. And now we get to the Recycle Center database. This was built when I got here in 2014, and it expedited the process enormously. You click on the last year's permit, you pull down the name, you click on it, prints out with the barcodes, with the, and we'll get to the barcodes in a minute. And it's also good because if you click on town streets there, or town residents, you'll see where the delineation is between East Fishkill and Wappingers. Point out that it's not a resident. So that's a good thing. A lot of people try to get in the center, and they say they have a Wappinger post office, but they're not residents. Okay, so that brings us to the Recycle Center. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but these are just some issues. First, let me talk about the financial information that came.
These are the receipts that we got.
Receipts, the number of items and the dollar amounts. A little bit down from last year. Last year was 95,000, if you remember. We were trying to get it paid for free, offsetting the bulk pickup, if you remember that. But here, basically, annual permits are about 1,900. The rest are some axle, single axle trailers, senior garbage tickets. So $88,727, total Recycle Center revenues.
So Frederick, this is then goes against what are the total costs, and those for next year are going to be going up $20,000 a month, correct? And we're looking at what, nearly $300,000, and then you take off the $88,000. That's where we get the significant loss, correct?
Right. Now, one point I want to make is, because we sell a lot of tickets in December, if I did year to year, you'd lose the tickets that were sold in December. So this data is from October 17th through October, a few days ago, October 17th. It's a rolling year. It's for, just for general purposes of understanding the amount. It may not tie to the annual year-to-year data.
And the seniors, as I recall, that's $30 a year,
And the
and
regular's
others are
50.
$50.
And you'll see the difference, almost half.
Right.
And then even the garbage tickets, 153, it's almost a factor of 10. So more seniors use it, obviously because they have less people, usually there's less people in the family, and it's worth it now to go to the recycle center as opposed to hiring Royal to come pick up. All right, final slide is something you may not want to talk about now, but maybe we'll
Just for
find the time to discuss it, is the recycle center issues. In other words, like, we want to bring back scanning. Okay, for a while we were recording abusers, and I was flagging their license plate, which comes up in that database. Now we have a person who's been flagged. How do we handle that?
So by scanning, again, just for the public, you're referring to when somebody drives up, we would have a hand scanner
Random.
that would record that particular permit.
Right, and Mike,
Correct?
you remember when we did that in 2015?
Yeah, I wasn't here, so that's why
Right, yeah, that's
Angela and
why
I,
I'm bringing it
and
up.
Chris weren't here.
Okay, so just some of the issues. Permits are not affixed to the vehicle. I was thinking maybe to make permits similar to the inspection stickers that go on your window. They adhere to the window, they have to be on the window. Who's going to enforce that? Do we want to enforce that? How to handle flag abusers, people who are abusing the system. Should we scan this year? These are, how about commercial plates? You got commercial plates, do we allow them in? How many uses determines abuse? Do we issue punch cards allowing 12 trips? Most residents won't mind because most residents don't abuse. The next slide, I lied, there is one more slide, I forgot I put it in the end. The next slide will show that 85% of the people use the recycle center 15 times or less, based on our 2015 data that I recorded. Okay, so if you were gonna use punch cards, that might be the benchmark you might wanna use, 15 or 20. Many residents ask, they want to permit, but they want to use a non-resident car. Now, the rules say that you have to rent from Home Depot or rent from Lowe's, show the rental receipt. But then they say, why can't I rent from my neighbor at $1? Why do we need to make Home Depot rich when they can rent from the neighbor at $1? So these are more issues we need to, why pay for a trailer when not using a car? They're using the trailer, they're not using the small car, they're paying extra for the trailer. Can residents rent from a neighbor as well as Home Depot, Roseville County? So now here's the final slab of the data, 2015, 6 months of use, 85% of the members used it 15 times or less, and the worst user had it 128 times in 6 months. And this is the top, that could fit on that slide. So I don't know if you want to schedule
I
any
think,
questions?
especially since Councilman Beal's not here, we'll say this for
All right.
further discussion when we go into.
128 times in 6 months when it's only open 2 days a week. That's interesting.
Notice I took out the name. I just put the car and portion of the license plate,
Okay.
but I have their name, and everything about them.
Yeah.
So, if you start flagging people and they buy a new punch card, they're using it, they still could use it 128 times in 6 months and still make out pretty well. Anyway, that's it.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Mhm. Any other questions for the clerk?
Nope.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. The next item is the tax assessor. Since I don't see Christian here, Frederick, would you review that? I think there was some reduction based on the departmental proposal, but I think that's based on the 2% salary issue.
That's on page 6, right?
Page 6,
1355.
Yeah, page 6 towards the end. That is number 1355.100. We have the assessor personal line. This was discussed with the town of Fishkill.
Yes.
As you may realize, there's an adjustment. In 2019, adopted, it was 47,000. Currently tentative proposed 46,400. What is going on here is that there has to be an agreement between the two towns as to who to pay the assessor. And currently, that is what stands unless it is changed before adoption.
Why do we have $60,000 in that line as to update?
Because it is 50-50, so what we're putting here is the town of Wapija's portion of the salary, and not the 100%, because obviously Fishkill is responsible for the other 50%. The reason why it is 60,000 is because the town of Wapinja has to make payment 100% and then submits a voucher for reimbursement.
And
So
then we
as
get
of-
reimbursed by Fishkill, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So as of that date,
Okay.
we had not submitted a voucher for reimbursement. That's why it looks like it has exceeded the budget.
Okay.
The following line is 101. These are the staff under the assessors department. The only change is a modest 2%. across all board from 101 all the way to 103, and then the rest have not changed except marginally. So if we compare the total change in the personal services from 19 to 2020 proposed, is only an increase of about 1,000. Moving on to page 7.
Yeah, I don't see any changes here either.
Yeah, there are no changes in the contractual.
Okay.
So that completes the assessors department.
Okay, thank you, Frederick. I have no further questions. Anybody else?
But there's one assessor and 2 assistants, basically?
Correct.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One's a data clerk and one's a assistant or deputy assessor. Okay, thank you, Frederick. Next one, let's see, Barbara, I think is still on planning board meeting, so let's defer that and we'll come back. Why don't you then take us through the next 3, the Justice Court, then go to the Supervisor, Town Board, and then Accounting.
Isn't Buildings and Grounds Steve Frazier?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed Steve. Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was thinking of Barbara,
Yeah,
she walked
exactly.
out. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
Steve's, Steve's, I'm sorry. Come on, Steve. Yeah, exactly.
I made some adjustments in the numbering of the personnel, the budget lines, so that they'd be easier to track from year to year.
Page 12, right?
Excuse me?
Page 12,
What page?
71110.
I'm on page, mine says page 11. I'm not sure we all have the same sheets.
Well, it
That should
starts
be,
on line 7110.100, right?
That's me.
yes.
Yeah, that's page 12 what we have.
Right,
That's-
so that remains the same. Then,
Okay.
dot 110 through dot 119 are gonna be the year-round employees. And then dot 120 through 129 would be the seasonal employees. So, what I did, currently have 4 seasonal employees.
Did you say 129? I don't see a 129.
Right, well, it's
199.
vacant.
199, okay.
It's vacant,
Got it,
yeah.
got it.
They're not all filled,
Okay, got
but
it.
they're available for those positions.
Okay.
So what I did, I currently have had 4 seasonal positions, and I moved 2 of those into year-round positions. I have 2 guys currently that have very good skills, and we can use through the winter months for making repairs outside of the grounds maintenance. Then during the mowing season, they would go back on the mowing crew. And those are the changes that you see there. I also added an additional skilled, advanced skilled employee like we did last year. The guy that we hired this past year has been working out very well. We're doing so much work in-house, and it saves us, we end up spending about a quarter of what we would do to contract jobs out by doing it in-house.
And I will, doing an excellent job.
Yeah.
Doing very fine.
So I added another position. I think I sent you all a list of the work that we have facing us earlier, and it's substantial, so this would help to get that stuff done. I do have a concern here. The one seasonal position that was eliminated is current. I put new because it would be a new hire. It wouldn't be a carryover from this year. There's no name next to it. The 120 is a carryover from this year. The same employee generally comes back every season. It's not, 121 really isn't a new position. It would be just a new name in that position. Generally with the mowing crew, I have 5 guys, or a total of 5 guys on the mowing crew. 3 on machines, and then 2 to do the trimming. And we have about 15 miles of fences that we have to trim, weekly.
So your preference would be to put that into the budget rather?
If
Because right
it's
now it's a
possible,
red line.
restore that
Okay.
that
Well,
last.
we'll keep attention to that.
seasonal position,
Right.
yeah, then that would give me the same number plus one that I have now.
Yeah, we'll look at that, Steve. Thank you.
Okay. Most of the stuff I didn't change because they're working out fairly well. Down here at dot 212, parks equipment, I have both a mower and one of the snowplow trucks that need to be replaced.
This
And that-
is on 212.212?
Right,
711.
correct.
Okay.
So the number I had there was to replace a mower that has spent probably as much time in the shop this year as it has out in the field. It's a 2003 model and just is very unreliable at this point. The snowplow truck is a 2005. It has a substantial amount of rust. I did some calculating, and the repairs that we would need to make on that truck if we were to keep it further
Is there
would
any way that
exceed
we
the
can-
value of the truck.
Is there any way we can purchase that in this year's budget?
Well, I guess that's something we could look at.
That might be
Yeah.
something to consider.
Right.
Because you need it, and it might be better off to not.
Yeah, and definitely we
Including
need
this
a
budget.
snowplow if you say it's not repairable.
Well, yeah, I had considered that we could get through this season with it, but, you know,
Okay.
if it's possible, that certainly would be a
Yeah, I would look
benefit,
into
yeah.
that possibility as
Okay,
well.
yeah, look into that, and, you know, Frederick, you and Steve discuss that and figure out what we might have.
Instead of spending,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
if you need it, get it.
If, though you had a choice between another piece of, snowplow, I agree with, and we'll work on that. Choice between the other piece of equipment and the new employee, what's your choice?
That, you know, I was weighing that back and forth here tonight coming in. You know, when the machine is down, I gotta pull a guy in to work on it. So not only am I losing the work from the machine, and I have to pull a guy in out of the field to repair it. But if I don't have that guy out there to pull in, then, you know, then I got two guys that I'm short. So it's kind of a difficult decision to make.
So, a question for you, with respect to repair and maintenance, is that something possible, if we had agreement with the CSEA, that, say, you know, one of their mechanics could repair it for you? if
I'm
we
sure they're
need it?
capable of doing it.
Right.
You know, he's got his hands full
No,
over
I
there as
understand.
well.
We're talking with them
Yeah,
and trying
and
to
I'd
figure
just
out
be
how we
concerned
share
that, you know,
something.
and I have a good relationship with,
Right.
with the highway department, but I would be concerned that, you know, if I need my stuff out there in the field, that we need to
Sure.
get it out there.
Okay.
And that's how we've been taking care of it. But yeah, that, you know, I'd be open to discussing that for
Okay.
sure.
Because I have raised that in the context
Right.
of our discussions that are going on with the union. Okay.
The parks, oh, I know what, I wanted to mention the payroll contingency was,
So if you would, Steve, then before we have our next meeting where we start to pull together all the numbers, then you and Frederick make a proposal, you know, back to us for the snowplow. You know,
Sure.
as far as what Councilwoman Bettina was saying for this year and my cousin, yeah, I know. Well, both of you, I was getting, you know, we're saying,
Sorry.
okay, yeah. I was just looking at her first, so, go ahead. Okay, Steve?
yeah, I meant to go back, I missed one going through the, yeah, dot 196, I think it says here. The payroll contingency?
Oh,
711.0.198.
That's 198, okay,
Yeah.
it's very small print here.
yep,
What I had done and calculated for that was, I think, a 5% of the total payroll cost for the year, and put in there for unscheduled work that comes up, like snowstorms or special events and such like that. If that's eliminated, I won't have anything to cover that if the need
well, is there
arises.
another line that we can, I think all of us have preferred to try to eliminate contingencies and just put it in based on actual experience and, so there's nothing like that. Is there something, another line that can go into? Steve or Frederick?
Well, the other line is comp time, and I eliminated that because I
Okay.
don't, I don't feel that one was necessary.
Right, okay.
Frederick?
I think the proposal is to have a uniform 2% on the individual lines.
Right.
And that's, rather than, an additional contingency
Right.
on any of the other lines. So what we did was propose a 2% on each individual line item from their current.
And that's for what?
From the current
2%
actual.
increase off
On your
of the
lines.
Well,
current.
that's-
And then if you had some other new employee or something else, then obviously the board would address that at the time, some additional
When
payroll
necessary.
costs when necessary. Yeah.
Right.
Right, but that 2% is a scheduled raise, correct? Or is that something
Well, it's
different?
being negotiated.
Right.
Yeah.
My concern is if I need to bring somebody in off the regular work schedule, where would the funds come from to pay them? And that's what I was drawing from the contingency.
Well, I would
line.
prefer that we would address that at the board, level,
Okay.
so if we
That's
have it
fine,
on schedule.
as long as I have
then
something to work
yeah.
with.
So that's the way I
Are
think.
you talking about like recreation events and things like that?
Recreation events, snowstorms where I've been pretty aggressive with the snowstorms because we have the place next door, they're a 24/7 facility. And then, in order to have this place operational on time, we have to start sometimes.
Yeah, the only thing I'll
advance.
say about that is that sometimes these things will be needed in the interim between board meetings where you might not get approval, so maybe some type of line for that should be accounted for.
Or put it into, a storm.
Or something,
Recreation,
yeah.
I think we will address that,
Okay.
generally with respect to particular recreation events,
Yeah.
but maybe there is, something for, snowstorm, emergency or something like that, rather than a contingency that
Yeah,
could
I
be used
agree.
differently.
Steve, maybe if you can come up with, and I don't know if you have the information, or maybe Frederick can help you,
Yeah.
what you use in this current year for those purposes, maybe we can calculate that and put that into some type of line.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Steve, also, what do you spend annually roughly to rent your boom lifts? The aerial equipment?
I think it was close to $1,000, it was just a little bit over $1,000 last year, between the rental and the delivery cost. And then I hired, that was to decorate the Christmas tree out at Schlott House.
Right.
And then I hired a boom truck with a worker on it for $300 to take them off. Putting them on requires some skill.
Right.
Taking them off is not so much, and he, pulled them off pretty quick for me. But, yeah, so if we were to do it twice, if I was to rent the machine twice, you'd be looking at close to $2,000.
Okay.
And that's just for that one job. On pay, everything, like I said, everything, most of this stuff remained the same. I made a slight increase in a couple lines where we had run short, for the contractual expenses. I guess we're looking at eliminating the parks contingency. I had drawn from that. In fact, I have a job here that I'll bring up at the next meeting that, we were looking to draw from to do down at Carnwood.
Again, I prefer that we specify the lines,
Okay.
to look at it based on experience and, where you anticipate it, so let's say if you have a Carnwath expense anticipated, let's put it, we do have a line for Carnwath, as I recall, right? So we can
Right.
have a little bit
Right.
greater accountability on
It's
that.
identified.
Yeah, identify.
Yeah, the majority of these parks are really underfunded.
Understood.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
we
and
have
that
to address
contingency line allows me to do some
Okay.
extra work within them.
Well, we'll consider
not a
that. but in the
perfect
meantime,
world.
yeah.
I understand
That's
that,
right.
and that's kind of the way in the end, I try to make everything come
Right.
out in the black.
And you've done a great job.
Yeah.
That's right. But
Well, let's look at that and consider.
And I believe, unless you want to go through this line by line, there haven't been any major changes
No,
in the other
when
lines.
I reviewed it with you, it was
Right.
pretty good. One question that, we've discussed, and we still have over at Castle Point, that large amount of acreage where trees have been felled. And what can we do about that? Because over time, as they rot or they dry out, then there's some risk associated.
Well, I had brought a land clearing expert down there, and the amount that would cost is phenomenal.
Yeah.
To have that taken care of. It'd be close to $100,000 or more, yeah.
And loggers are interested in it?
There's so much stuff down in the area that they really aren't, because it's not logging quality wood other than firewood. And, you know, there's a surplus of that right now.
Okay.
Is this something the firehouse could utilize for training, any of that wood?
No, not really. It's, you know, it's fairly mature trees that were blown down in that storm we had come through.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Anything else
No.
for Steve?
That's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thanks for all your hard work and your team's hard work. And by the way, beautiful job so far on the your pavilion gazebo out there.
Right.
I don't know if any of you, the nighttime, but it's really nice what they've done. And are you going to stain it or paint it?
Looking at, well, we're looking at making it white one way or
White,
the other,
yeah.
Either paint or stain.
Steve put in a nice looking
Like
cupola
to see
on
it.
the top. It's really quite nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Frederick, are you ready to discuss
Yes,
Justice Court, Supervisor Board, and Accounting, in whatever
Right,
order
so,
that you want to take?
the Justice Court Department requested that I present their budget on their behalf. So let's look at page 4 of 18.
I'm sorry, Frederick, what page?
Page 4 of 18.
Thank you.
So regarding personal services,
Okay.
we have on the last column the tentative or proposed, and these are strictly 2% of the 2019 actuals. So basically about 5,000 increment for all the employees and other department combined. Then on the equipment, there's a proposal, you know, at the recommendation of our IT consultant, Craig, that we buy new computers in line with with this proposal that we do so in order to make sure that we are up to date with the technology, because some of the softwares in those computers are not going to be supported. So under line number 1110-201, there's a proposal to buy seven computers at $660 a computer, and that's how we have the 4,620.
So none of the computers that are there now can be upgraded with the software?
He said that it would cost more for him to
Yeah.
upgrade.
I'm
All
sorry?
our computers.
It would cost more money for him to upgrade from.
Yeah, I think we're
To
doing
add
it
the
wrong.
software to these computers?
I think it's not just software, there's additional things he has to do on time. So he looked at do we upgrade or buy new ones? And based on his analysis, it was going to be cheaper and faster to buy new computer rather than upgrade.
Yeah. So all the departments were having to upgrade because of the hardware and the memory and the speed and everything is not.
When was the last time we
Adequate.
bought computers in the town?
It's several years,
It's a while.
a while.
A lot? Okay.
Then looking at the
Probably like Windows XP.
yes.
Word perfect.
Looking at the contractual items, they're basically the same except on line number 1110-410 postage. They are proposing a $3,000 increment, and what they're saying is that this has been necessitated by a new requirement to comply with CPL 510.43, which will be effective from January next year. And it requires the Justice Court to notify the defendants of each subsequent court appearance via text, first-class mail, or phone call, their choice upon arraignment. So this is something that they have to do beginning of next year.
Part of
And
the
that-
new reforms,
Right.
that web-based texting and other things.
Well, that's all in the package with,
The bail.
The bail
Yep,
reforms, so
Exactly.
it's gonna be a challenge.
Yep.
So if you look at the total contractual increment, also about 3,000, and that is really the reason why there's an increase in 2020 compared to 2019. So they're mostly self-explanatory. If there's any question regarding justice course, then we can move on to the supervisor's budget. That is on page 5 of 18, the A fund. If you look at the first item, the town supervisor, the proposed salary is the same as 2019, so no change. But underline 101, the secretary, there's just a 2% modest increase, just like in all the other lines for the town employees. And 103, deputy supervisor, the same. Same for budget officer, 104, and the equal opportunity officer, the same. We are proposing to buy 2 computers as per the recommendation of the IT. So that is where we have the 1,320.
Are the computers being all bought
Yeah,
as one lot, or are they all separate?
there are about 20 or so computers,
Okay.
and each department has to budget in their lines.
Right, right.
So Justice Court has about 6 or 7. Supervisor has about 2 computers. Accounting has 3. So that's how we were looking at it, determining what to put in the budget. So under the contractual supervisor, there's really no change compared to 2019 adopted. So that brings us to the conclusion of the end of the supervisor's budget.
1220102-A, legislative aid moved to 110-101A, what is that?
That was, let's look at 1010, 110. So that was a proposal for the paralegal, and
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 legislative aid.
And
But
legislative
we
aid.
Well, we'll
removed it.
discuss it.
Yeah, but we had removed it because of the cost factor.
but if you look at the tentative, actually it was eliminated due to the budget constraints.
We'll
So-
discuss it, thank you.
So,
Yeah, it was actually moved to under the town board item rather than supervisor.
now that we are on page 3, we can look at the town board budget, page 3 of 18. The first line items under legislative personnel, the same,
Page 3,
page 3 of 18.
Oh, okay.
under general government support, legislative.
1010-102 student worker, the same as 2019 at 10,000. Town board equipment, there's no proposal to buy new equipment, new computers for the town board. 1010-202 supplies for the town historian.
But on the
For what?
computer though, doesn't the same, there's an old computer, right? So there's a current computer for the town board. Right, so shouldn't we have a new updated one as well?
There are some computers that are new that we don't.
Oh, they're
have.
new?
Not everybody's getting a new
Okay.
computer.
Okay, so that one's newer computer?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Frederick.
Yes.
Okay.
If you look at 10-10-400s, that is a contractual. The only major change is the town board contingency, that is 10-10-405, almost the last item. We have eliminated that in line with the, eliminating all contingencies which unless we identify really what we want to do, we have eliminated all the contingencies. So that is why the budget was brought down from 14,000 to 4,000 under the contractual. So there's been quite some reduction in the town board budget compared to what was adopted in 2019. So unless there's any questions, we'll move on to the accounting department, which is on page number 5 of 18. The first item is the controller line, 1315-100. There's a modest proposal of 2% from the current 79. 1315-101, account clerk typist. There's a proposal to increase by 2% from the current. The account clerk typist joined us in May or April of this year, so whatever was adopted was appears to be less compared to what is proposed in the 2020, but it's basically 2% of the current actual of $22 an hour. Payroll clerk also, there's a modest proposal to increase it by 2%. That is line 104.
You said the bookkeeper was 2%?
Yes,
Because I see 36 to 40.
right. But the actual, what was contracted at the time of hire was 22, which is more than what is there. But we were able to be within that amount because she was hired in April. So we are not going to use the whole amount.
Happy.
Yep. And then line 1315-199, I guess that is the stipend, maybe subject to discussion, further discussion later on. 1315-200, controller equipment, we only need 2 computers because even though we have 3 staff currently, 1 computer is new. Moving on to the contractual, we have the mileage remaining the same, office supplies remaining the same, postage the same, copier list the same. On page 6, the first line, paycheck, time in a box. The adopted was 19,000, but if negotiations with the union go according to plan, there might be a saving on this line because we expect to go bi-weekly instead of weekly.
Correct.
Payroll. So that will give us some cushion. Line 406, Edmunds new software. So that should cover us for the rest of for 2020. And the training, this is a shield of towns.
Just for the board's, I know the answer, but for the board's interest, where are you on the Edmunds, your update?
Oh, okay.
This is our financial software package, been underway. Frederick's been working on that.
Right, so we were able to be trained on the main software, which is the financial. And we actually went live October 2nd. So we are currently live. We have stopped using the old software of KVS. Everything was converted. Actually 3 years, 2016, 17, and 18, and 2019 up to end of September. So it's going on well so far. They have also trained us on the water and utility billing software, which was really the major concern. And the date to go live should be, I think, beginning of November for that one. So we've not had any problems with the new software. I think it's going to be very, very useful for the department.
Thank you.
And is that the package that also has the escrow component?
Well, we didn't actually buy the escrow component because it wasn't part of the proposal.
Okay.
But I think the escrow works, we have to find out what is the problem, fix it. Because the software is not going to solve the...
Right.
Once we get that corrected, then I think we can look at that
Okay.
package. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frederick.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay, any other questions? That seems to wrap up at least the reports, and then we'll be taking it under advisement and discussing it further. So we have no further discussions tonight on the proposed budget.
No, just one resolution, right?
There's one resolution, but Mr. Haran just advised, Jim, why don't you advise the board on what you just told
So,
me?
with respect to the miscellaneous code amendments, the planning board had one recommendation, which I would agree with. And it's regarding one item, which is parking of commercially registered vehicles on a residential lot, residentially zoned lot. So the code was to, the proposed amendment was to amend it to add the word registered gross vehicle weight. But the existing provision limits the vehicles that can be parked to 8,000 pounds. The planning board feels that that weight limit should be increased to 9,500 pounds because a 3/4 ton truck typically comes in above 8,000 pounds. So if anyone's got a Ford 350 or an Excursion or some of the larger SUVs, they would not be permitted to park. However, a 9,500 pound restriction would permit those types of vehicles to park, but not a tow truck or an ambulance or a Ford 450, the larger type pickup trucks, which you would see for a typical commercial vehicle. So based on that, and this was a discussion that we've had previously regarding that weight, there is a separate provision that deals with parking on the street of a commercial vehicle in a residential district, which has a weight limit for 18,000 pounds. But the thought was that the 8,000 was too low because there's a lot of vehicles that are used for commercial or for
Private.
residential purposes, typical personal use. And the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law requires any of those vehicles to be registered commercially. So if you have a Ford 350 pickup truck, whether you use it for business or not, it is required to have commercial plates on it because of the weight. So based on that recommendation, they're recommending that limit be increased from 8,000 to 9,500, which I think is appropriate. And under Municipal Home Rule Law Section 20, which deals with the adoption of a local law, the local law has to be in final form laid on the desks for 7 days exclusive of Sunday. So we'd actually have to change this. We can post it on the website so that the public is aware, and then you could vote on it
Our next meeting.
this meeting after that, because.
Can we vote on all the other ones tonight?
No, because it's all in one package.
All in one package?
It's all one law, unfortunately.
Okay, so I'll move to table that resolution pending that, that ultimate change.
So we'll make the,
Second.
we'll make the change in local law and we'll circulate it in that way.
And
we can-
instruct the clerk to
Yep.
place it on the website.
Okay.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you, Jim.
thank you.
Yep.
I think there's no other business, right? Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.